Hello, ladies, envies, and gentlemen. So, I haven't done one of these for a while. This is a video response to one of Pat Condell's recent pieces of work. And if you're not familiar with who Pat Condell is, if you're someone who hasn't followed that side of YouTube, he is a former comedian. He used to be a comedian on the UK comedy circuit back in the, I think it was in the 80s. And he used to rub shoulders with the likes of Mark Thomas, people like that, various left-wing comedians. And he was also on the radio for a while, which I'm sure was a wonderfully enlightening listen. Nowadays, however, he ekes out an existence on YouTube. And for a while, he formed part of a triumvirate of atheist YouTubers, along with Thunderfoot and The Amazing Atheist. And of course, Thunderfoot and The Amazing Atheist, as we all know, have branched off into the kind of rapey, misogynistic side of things. They've branched off in that direction, and Pat Condell has sort of branched off in the direction of hating brown people. This happened a few years ago. And, yeah, needless to say, I'm really not a fan. Just in case that isn't obvious. And I've done a couple of responses to him in the past, but I didn't really want to make a habit of it. And the reason I didn't want to make a habit of it is because if you watch a few Pat Condell videos, you start to realise they're all pretty much of a muchness. They're all kind of the same video, or maybe it's the same 4 videos. You know, there's maybe 4 types of video he does. But basically, his videos are just mostly the same. And if you start doing responses to all his videos, that means all your videos are going to be the same. Because you're just going to be making all the same points. He's going to make all the same points in his videos, and you're going to debunk all of them in your videos. So it's the sort of thing that if you're a progressive YouTuber, it's worth maybe responding to 1 or 2, or debunking 1 or 2, but it's not something you want to make a habit of unless you want your channel to become incredibly boring. This one was just about different enough from the standard Pat Condell format for me to make me think let's do a video, because I do political videos on Fridays. Of course, Pat Condell's video is entitled Comedians and UKIP. Now, given as Pat used to be a comedian, we're in for a lot of shooting himself in the foot here. But basically, Pat is butthurt because his political party of choice, which is UKIP, the UK Independence Party, apparently comedians are saying mean things about this party. Apparently they make jokes about UKIP, which he doesn't think are very funny. He thinks they're rather mean. And naturally, my response to this would be, cry me a fucking river, Pat. Pat has been one of the leading voices in this whole culture of glorifying offence. This whole culture of, oh, you don't have a right not to be offended. This whole idea, which is not untrue. It's not untrue that we don't have a right not to be offended, but people seem to use this phrase as a way of trying to glorify offensive behaviour, as though offensive behaviour, because you have a right to do it, it's therefore somehow glorious, therefore somehow you must do it, and if you don't do it, you're somehow spitting on the graves of everyone who fought for your rights to free speech, if you don't go around offending people as often as possible. So Pat Condell is very much one of the leading voices in this ridiculous subculture that we mostly see on the internet, because let's face it, none of these people really like to have the guts to actually be as offensive as they are to people in real life, you know, not unless they want to punch in the mouth. And all of a sudden, Pat, this leading light of the free speech, this bullshit, this weird kind of conservative libertarian distorted version of actual free speech, this leading light of this is now complaining because a political party that he happens to support is getting made fun of. It's getting ridiculed. Now, Pat, the reason a party like UKIP gets ridiculed is because UKIP is ridiculous. That's how it works, I'm afraid. Ridiculous things get ridiculed. Sometimes things that aren't ridiculous get ridiculed anyway, as well. But UKIP is just, I mean, the only thing I would really criticise these left-wing comedians for here is maybe they're going a bit for the obvious. They're going for the low-hanging fruit. You know, maybe they're not being particularly imaginative by picking such an easy target as UKIP to make fun of, but at the same time, you know, what works, works. doesn't it? You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, ridiculous hard right parties are just so easy to make fun of, and they're just gold mines for comedy. That, you know, what do you expect, Pat? And why are you so upset about this? I mean, I've voted for, in my life, I think I voted for Lib Dems, I voted for the Greens, and I voted Labour, you know, depending on the election. And I would not give a flying monkey's fuck if a comedian made fun of any of those parties. If a comedian, like, you know, let's say a right-wing comedian, let's say Jim Davidson or someone said, oh, the Green Party are a bunch of bean-eating hippies, I'd be like, oh, okay, don't care. Who gives a flying fuck what Jim Davidson thinks? You know, not me. I wouldn't give a fuck, because making fun of political parties is just par the course, isn't it? It's perfectly ordinary in British culture. We see it all the time. And even most left-wing comedians I'm familiar with, well, even they don't even mind making fun of their own side of the fence a lot of the time. They'll happily make fun of Labour as well, or make fun of the Lib Dems or whoever else. You know, because it's comedy, and some people know how to laugh at themselves. But the thing is that, Pat, you're actually an ex-comedian. I mean, I can't see it myself personally, but different strokes for different folks. You know, apparently certain people used to find you funny. So when you say, oh, a comedian is just an ego on legs, and you talk about how shallow comedians are and how they'll sell out just to appeal to their middle-class progressive audience, I mean, you know, are you not just shooting yourself in the foot there? Are you not just admitting that you used to do this? Are you not just kind of looking back on your past with a certain amount of shame here? You even admit in your video that you used to participate in a comedy routine which ridiculed the WI. And you actually, you know, you seem to think this comedy routine was wrong. It was wrong to ridicule the WI just for the amusement of the audience. Because apparently ridiculing things for the amusement of the audience is just something comedians shouldn't do. And don't really know what you think comedians should do instead. But okay. But you used to do this. You admitted you participated in this. So what, was that okay then? I mean, are you confessing a sin there? Are you sort of regretting this? Or can we just take it that you're just one massive hypocrite? You're someone who, through your career, you've been quite happy to mock, ridicule, without mercy, various areas of the political, religious spectrum, whatever. You've mocked various religious groups, various political groups, without mercy, and your fans absolutely love you for it. And all of a sudden, you're acting like one massive butthurt baby, because comedians of all people have made fun of UKIP of all parties. I just find this astonishing. You know, not just because you can't understand why people would ridicule a hard right party, but even if they weren't a hard right party, why would you care? Like I said, I wouldn't give a flying fuck if someone made fun of any of the parties I've ever voted for. And I can't help but feel it's just because deep down you know how ridiculous a party UKIP is, and you don't like having that pointed out to you, even if it's by comedians, even if it's by people whose job it is to basically just ridicule the political situation, to ridicule everything. You just can't seem to handle that. And I just find it astonishing, and it really does go to show that these conservative libertarian types, for all their harping on about free speech, they only really care about their own free speech. They only really care about being able to say what they want to say. They don't care about other people. They aren't willing to let other people have their say about things. They're not willing to say, well, fair enough, you know, we ridicule you, you ridicule us. And I wouldn't actually mind so much if you wanted to just fire a few shots back, if you wanted to make a few jokes about left-wing parties in return. I wouldn't mind that so much. I probably wouldn't find them funny, but okay. But the thing is, you haven't done that. You've just sat there and moaned and whinged because your political party of choice got made fun of. And I just think, like, is this how bad things? Is this how much of a humorless, miserable, pointless old git you have become, that you can't laugh at anything anymore? You can't even laugh at yourself anymore. That you can't even come back with humour. That all you can do is sit there and moan and whinge like some miserable, pointless old git. And I wouldn't mind if you wanted to try and debunk some of this. If you picked a specific comedian and picked something particular they'd said about UKIP and talked about how you felt that was misrepresenting UKIP, that in itself wouldn't be quite so bad. It would still be kind of boring to watch, I should imagine, but at least you would be trying to do something. But this is just one massive whinge that doesn't go into any detail. It doesn't get you anywhere, and it just shows what a pointless, pathetic, hypocritical coward you have become, and perhaps have always been. Because though I understand that you used to be a left-wing comedian back in the day, which is probably why you were willing to indulge this sort of thing until you suddenly found yourself on the wrong side of it, until you found yourself on the receiving end of this kind of ridicule. So anyway, in conclusion, cry me a fucking river, Pat Condell. Fuck you. Fuck people who subscribe to you. Fuck people who promote you, and fuck people who haven't got the guts to speak out against you. Goodbye.